Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum to lecture number 31 of Software Engineering 1 CSC 291. In today's lecture we will be covering we are coming towards the end of this course, and this is our final topic today, and we will be discussing component and deployment diagrams. And if you guys remember a traditional software process model, then it had the following stages. We started with analysis, then we moved to design, and then we moved to implementation, then testing, and finally deployment. So in today's lecture we will see that how do we create these deployment diagrams, what are they consist of, and in that relation we will be covering component diagrams. Although there is a huge field of component-based software engineering which we have not covered in this course, and that will be covered in software engineering 2, but in today's lecture we'll give very brief introduction of what a component is and how do we create these component diagrams and how these components they are used then when we are making these deployment diagrams. And we'll see specifically from UML's point of view that how do we make these diagrams. But before we get to that, let's quickly have a recap of what we covered in our last lecture. In the last lecture, our topic was software quality assurance, and we continued with the topic I think over 3 lectures, and we covered a lot of different things. When we started the lecture, we said basically we established that what do we mean by quality, and we discussed various quality concepts. And one of the things that was very interesting about software quality assurance that we said that this is an umbrella activity, and quality should be applied to each and every step of software development process, because we cannot ensure that the product would be good if we say that we have only ensured quality at the analysis phase or only assured quality at the design phase. So when we say that the product is of good quality, then we need to maintain quality throughout the software development process. And then we said software quality assurance, it might be complex. Why it is complex? Because we need to come up with quantities. Because when we have to gauge that whether we have improved quality or what is the measure of our quality, then in that case we need to gauge quality, we need to get some numbers, and in that regard we discussed various techniques, and then we said that reviews are one of the most important tools that are used by quality assurance people to ensure that the product is of good quality. And there are 2 kinds of reviews. We said there are informal reviews and there are formal reviews, and they not only differ in terms of their formality, with their name suggests, but also in terms of their timings, that at what time a review is applied. For example, if this timeline represents, for example, let's say that this x-axis, it shows the timeline of the software development, and you start your product development here, and this is maybe the final date. So, and the reviews at the beginning, so let's say we are conducting reviews here. Now all these reviews, they would tend to be informal. Okay, the reason is because at the early stage of the software development process, we do not have a lot of work products to actually see whether they're of good quality or not, because we are beginning every stage. We are at the beginning stage of analysis, we are at the beginning stage of design, so we do not have an SRS document or a STS document or any code to actually review. So, and these reviews are informal and they tend to be very short, and you do not actually record a lot of things about them. Whereas at the later stages, when you have these, for example, you say our analysis phase, it completes here, our design phase completes here, your implementation is here complete, and your testing is somewhere here complete. So these formal reviews, they are timed, so you actually plan for them in advance, and usually at the completion of a distinct step, we always conduct a formal technical review. So for example, let's say the requirement gathering was complete here, you prepared an SRS document, so that review, so this is a review of your SRS, and this would be a formal review. Okay, and then we said how do we define a formal review? There are different people involved in a formal review. There is the producer involved, and there are a lot of guidelines when you conduct that reviews, and few of the very important guidelines were that you need to stay focused, you need to have proper agenda, you need to ask to the point questions, and one thing that you need to make sure that the producer believes that you are not reviewing him but you're reviewing his work product. And then following that, we discussed various statistical techniques of quality assurance, and we discussed one of the very famous tools which we call Six Sigma. I mean, sadly, because of lack of timing or the content that we planned for this course, we could not cover Six Sigma in a lot of detail, and we gave a very brief introduction of what Six Sigma is, and we said that there are three core processes in Six Sigma, and on the basis of whether a quality assurance process is in place in a company or not, we can amend 2 steps in either case. And following that, we covered one of the very interesting techniques where we said that we try to identify the vital few causes of errors in any organization, because generally we can easily say that majority of errors are caused by few causes. Okay, so when we identify those causes, we can reduce the number of errors. And we saw an example where we said that the major 3 categories or major 3 causes of those errors were: number 1 was incomplete or erroneous specification, number 2 was miscommunication from the customer, and I think number 3 was so those were the 2 broad categories. And then we saw if we limit or we reduce the causes, if we can somehow control that cause, then we can reduce the number of errors. And then we said that when we apply software quality assurance, and there are certain goals and attributes and metrics. So there were 4 goals of software quality assurance. You need to improve quality of your requirements, you need to improve quality of your design, you need to improve quality of your implementation, and finally you need to gauge that the quality control that you have in your company, whether it's effective or not. And then we said we defined different attributes for them, and there were different metrics through which we can measure that whether a certain attribute, what is the value of a certain attribute, and on the basis of that we can gauge whether the quality is good or bad. Okay, and then we said that any company who wants to follow SQA, then they need to make a plan. And that plan, first of all, it consists of lots of documents which tells different procedures, and then you gather some data. On the basis of that, you come up with certain quantities, and on the basis of which you actually say whether the product is whether you have improving quality or your quality is getting worse. And then something very interesting, we then discussed formal technical review and how we can gauge the effectiveness of formal technical reviews. And we went through a very interesting method which was defect removal and amplification. We went to a very interesting method, defect removal and amplification method, where we said we look at 2 cases. In one we said that we are conducting no reviews, and in the other case we said we are conducting reviews. And then we basically calculated the cost of fixing the errors in both the cases. And it was very easy to see that in the case when we do conduct the reviews, our efficiency of finding errors during the development, during implementation is good, and because of that our total cost or total money that we spent on fixing bugs is reduced. And then finally we discussed 2 very interesting concepts. One was reliability and then safety, and we said that first of all, reliability for different products would mean different thing. For example, you are making a website, it needs to be reliable, it should not crash, it should work on different browsers, and things like that. It should support a lot of users, and when a lot of people are logged into it, it should work properly. It should be reliable. But reliability for a website and reliability for a nuclear power plant or for a jet engine, they would mean totally different things, because the software component that is running in those in a nuclear power plant or in a jet engine needs to be very, very reliable. It needs to be very safe, whereas for a website it needs to be reliable, but there can be a compromise. Okay, so it means different it has different meanings for different things. And then we discussed different metrics of measuring the reliability of any software product. We discussed a mean time between failure, and first of all, what do we mean by reliability? It is the probability that the software is working according to the requirements that were given by the customer. Okay, and then we said that we defined 3 different metrics: mean time to failure, which is the summation of mean time between failure plus mean time to recover. And on the basis of that, we said we can also calculate the probability that how much time with the software is available, or we can calculate the availability of the product, and which was basically division of these 2 metrics that we have just defined. Okay, so and finally we then said that there are different standards that companies can adhere to. For example, there are ISO standards, there are CMMI standards, and any company that says that they are ISO certified or they are CMMI certified, then they basically would follow those standards, in their normal routine. For example, they are gathering requirements, and they would have certain standards for gathering requirements. So they need to follow them if they say they are ISO certified or if they are CMMI certified. So basically, for these standards, they apply to all the business processes of an organization. So that was our recap of software quality assurance that we covered in past few lectures. So let's see what we have in store for us today. As I already said, that we will be covering UML component diagram and UML deployment diagram. But before we get to that, we will see that how can we extend UML? How can we create stereotypes, or how in UML? So we will just quickly go through that, and then we'll move to component diagram and deployment diagram. Okay, so this is normally the system model and the view. Okay, so this actually tells us that when we create different models, then where a model actually fits in. For example, when we say that we want to see the structural view of our product, then we have these class diagrams and we have these object diagrams. And whereas if you want to see that how the product is behaving, because if you guys remember, when we discussed the object and class design, we said that there are different representation of a class model. Few are static and few are dynamic. And in terms of dynamic, we said sequence diagram, this is a dynamic representation. Collaboration diagram, that is a dynamic representation. State diagram, that is dynamic representation. So, and all these diagrams, they also tell behavior of the system. So they fall under the category of behavioral view. And then we have two very interesting views. One is the implementation view, and the other is the environment view. Implementation view tells us that how a product will be implemented. For example, we define different nodes or different components and say this implementation is basically dealt by that particular node, and then this implementation dealt by that particular node, and that is where we make these component diagrams. And whereas when we actually say that which component would be physically deployed to which hardware or which device, at that stage when we create the environmental view. So basically we are here talking about the hardware, okay, which component would be deployed on which node, okay, and that is when we create these deployment diagrams. So this is our topic of interest today, mainly deployment diagram, and in relation to that we will be covering component diagrams as well. So first of all, what is an implementation view? In terms of the component diagram, it encompasses the components and files that are used to assemble and release the physical system. It captures the physical structure of implementation, whereas the environment view, that is the deployment diagrams, they encompass the nodes that forms the system hardware topology on which the system executes. So it's the difference. First one is the implementation, the other is the hardware topology. And in terms of hardware, we actually figure out that which implementation nodes are actually deployed on which hardware nodes. So that's the relation between the two. So let's quickly see that, because why are we discussing extension here? Because when we create these component diagrams and deployment diagrams, we need few stereotypes here. So let's see. First of all, why do we need to extend UML? So first of all, we need to know that although UML is very well defined, okay, but there are situations in which it needs to be customized to specific problem domains, and there are extension mechanisms in UML first of all, and through those extension mechanisms, what are the three things that we can do? We can add new model elements, we can create new properties, and so we can specify new semantics. And there are three extension mechanisms. Number one is the stereotypes, number two are the tagged values, and number three we can create constraints and nodes. So these are the three extension mechanisms, and let's see how we actually create stereotypes, how we create tag values, and how do we create constraints and nodes. So first of all, what do we mean by a stereotype? Stereotypes, they are used to extend UML to create new model elements that can be used in specific domains. So basically we are creating some new elements which we want to use in a particular domain. And for example, when modeling an elevator control system, we may need to represent some classes, states, etc. as hardware and software, because we want to differentiate that which particular classes they fall under this hardware category and which fall under the software category. So we can create a whole new stereotype, and we'll say कि hardware के अंदर ये classes हैं, software के अंदर ये classes हैं. And stereotypes should always be applied in a consistent way. So if you create new stereotypes and you are using it across different models, then they need to be applied in a consistent fashion. And what are the different ways of representing a stereotype? The one is place the name of the stereotype above the name of an existing UML element. For example, you have this, so this is a stereotype, and that's how we write the name, and it's always written in between these two angular brackets. So whatever stereotype name or stereotype you create, the name should be written between these angular brackets. So these should be two brackets first of all. So it's written here. Don't use double symbols. There are special characters called upon and close limits, and create so you can create new icons as well. So this is again an example of a stereotype. So that's how we can create new stereotypes. So basically, so whenever we have to create now a cancel button, whenever we have to show that a cancel button is there, so we would use basically this stereotype, or we will use this stereotype. So that is what we meant by that their use should be consistent. Okay, and then we have tagged values. First of all, what do we mean by tagged value? They define additional properties for any kind of model element. Okay, so you have, for example, a class diagram, and you want to show an additional property of that. So you can use these tag values. They can be defined for existing model elements and for stereotypes. So as I said, you can do it for a class diagram, or you can do it for your new stereotypes. They are shown as a tagged value pair, where the tag represents the property and the value represent the value of that property. For example, you have here two tag values. So author is equal to Bob, okay, and version is equal to 2.5. And why are these helpful? First of all, they are useful, for example, because these UML diagrams or a few of these computer aided software engineering tools, these case tools, they're ideally they should be used for code generation. That you've created these UML diagrams, and these diagrams are so well refined that you can generate code on the basis of that, or at least you can create the structure of your code on the basis of that. So first of all, these tag values, they can be used for code generation, they can be used for version control and configuration management, and also they can be used for authorship and etc. A tag value is known as a string that is enclosed by bracket, and which consists of the tag, a separator, the symbol equal to, and a value. Okay, so this is what we have in terms of tag values, and then we have constraints. We have already covered constraints in different diagrams. For example, we covered constraints when we discussed activity diagrams. We covered constraints when we discussed class diagrams. So constraints are limitations on different elements that you put. So first of all, they are used to extend the semantics of the UML by adding new rules or modifying existing ones. They can also be used to specify conditions that must be held true at all times for all elements of a model. Can be represented using the natural language or object constraint language. So they can be used in either you write some English in it, or you write some you write some conditions, or you write in predicate logic. If this is true, then do that, and things like that. So for example, this is and then you can have comments. Okay. These comments, they are used to help clarify the model. So basically, if you have for example, you have created a diagram, so you can put a comment, and if there's an element which is not very obvious, so you want to, it's like adding comment to your code, that if somebody else sees your code, then he can quickly realize, okay, that's what this guy meant when he wrote that code. So it's similar when you create a new diagram and you have something which you actually want to explain to people, then you can add these comments. A comment is shown as a text string within a note icon. Note icon can also contain an OCL expression. It can also contain an object constrained language expression as well. Okay, and what are these UML profiles? UML profiles, they provide an extension mechanism for building UML models for particular domains. For example, real-time systems, you have your web development and etc. So you can create these UML profiles, and each profile, it can be used to make models for a certain domain. So for example, you have created your own profile for real-time system, for web development. And what does a profile consist of? It consists of a package that contains one or more related extension mechanisms, such as stereotypes, tag values, and constraints that are applied to UML model elements. And profiles, they do not extend the UML meta model. They are also called the UML lightweight extension mechanisms. Okay, ji. And a UML profile that does one or more of the following is a specification that does one or more of the following. It identifies a subset of UML meta model, which may be the entire UML meta model. Okay, ji. Specifies stereotypes or tag value, because we have already said that when we say profile, so it will be applied to one domain, okay? And it can consist of all the meta model in UML, or it can consist of a set of meta model in UML. It specifies well-formedness rules beyond those that already exist, specifies the semantics expressed in natural language. You know, if certain thing is applied on a certain domain and you want to express something, to that profile, it actually does that for you. So we will let's see an example of a profile. So this is an example of a GUI profile, and so we want to show in UML that what are the different components that will be involved when we create graphical user interface. So let's assume that our GUI, it contains forms, it contains buttons, and then we have certain constraints. So a form can invoke a dialog box, a form as well as a dialog box can contain buttons. So we have also specified some constraints. So हमने profile के अंदर सबसे पहली चीज़ बताई कि what are the different things that will be used in this particular profile. So we can have forms and then we can have buttons. फिर हमने ये भी बता दिया कि जी a form, it can generate a dialog box, and similarly then the second constraint that we have specified is that a form and a dialog box, both of them, they can have buttons in them. So so this is the GUI profile package. So what are the different class and associations are part of the UML meta model. So let's say हमने कहा कि जी you know, these are the different classes, ठीक है. So we have forms and then we have buttons, और इसके अंदर associations कौन सी हो सकती हैं. Forms, they can contain buttons. Similarly the dialog boxes, they can contain buttons, and your forms, they can invoke dialog boxes. And then dialog box is a special kind of a form. So it is basically, form is a generalization, and dialog box, it has a special kind of a form. So this is how we actually show कि तो हमने क्या डिस्कस किया था कि when you discuss a UML profile, so it has the meta model or a subset of meta model. So इसके अंदर हमारे पास क्या है, we have these classes and we have these associations. Then we have specified, we have these stereotypes that we have created for this GUI profile. जिसके अंदर क्या क्या है, we have created form, and then we have said we have a button, and then we have certain constraints which we have already told. On the basis of those constraints, we have specified these realizations. So that is how you represent a UML profile. Okay, now let's see how do we draw these subsystems in UML, and this will actually take us to our topic, our main topic of discussion today, that is the deployment diagrams. So when we say a system design, then it should model the static and dynamic structure of the system, because a system can be represented statically, and then obviously it has some behavior depending on user interaction with that. So system would, you know, do something, and that is the dynamic behavior of the system. The component diagrams, they're used for static structures. They show the structure at the design time or compilation time. Whereas these deployment diagrams, they are used for dynamic structures. You know, it show the structure of the system at runtime. क्योंकि हम physically we show the hardware, so हम बताना चाहते हैं कि when these two components will communicate at this hardware node, then which message will be passed to, you know, let's say any other hardware node, or what will be the communication with client and server, and you know, blah blah blah. So what will be the communication between, okay, we need to do that again, please cut that blah 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 part. Okay, so and so these deployment diagrams, they are used for representing the dynamic structure of the system design. So it shows, because it shows at the runtime that how different physical nodes will be communicating with each other. So first of all, before we get to the deployment diagram, let's quickly see what do we mean by components and how do we create these component diagrams. First of all, what is a component? A component is a named physical and replaceable part of a system that represents physical packaging of otherwise logical elements, and that conforms to and provides the realization of one or more interfaces. A component represents a piece of software code. It can be source code, binary, or executable. A component type has a type name. A component instance represents a runtime code unit. Normally जब हम कहते हैं component है तो and the component is usually represented in this fashion. Okay, so we call this is the component. Okay, this is how we draw a component in the UML. So this is the component name, and this is how we show that, you know, you have one component in a diagram. Okay ji. So what are the different elements that are involved in a component? Okay. So it the standard stereotypes that can be used, or when we create these component diagrams, is executable, a program that may run on a node. Application, it consists of several executables. Then it can has files, files containing source code of data, क्योंकि हमने पहले define कर दिए कि when we say components, ठीक है, तो it can have source code, it can have binary code, it can consist of executable files, it can consist of configuration files, it can consist of make files or ideal bindings. So it can be aggregation of other components as well. So when we talk about a component in a system, or when we say we're going to create a component diagram of a system, so one component, first of all, it can be combination of multiple components, and then we say a component kya kya ho sakta hai. So we have these different types. It can be source code, it can be binary code, it can be an executable, it can be a configuration file, and any of these things. And then we have some stereotypes that are used when we create these. So हम कहते हैं कि जी component की एक profile है, component diagram की जो UML की profile है, it has following stereotypes. It has an executable stereotype, it has an application, it has a file, library, document, and page stereotypes. Then you have some technology specific stereotypes, and you can create your own stereotypes as well here. So one is ActiveX. You know, if you have ActiveX component, if you have a Java Beans component, or if you have an applet, or if you're using a DLL, or if you have a Cobra component. So what Cobra component? So you know, whatever component you have, you can create a stereotype which will represent that this component is a Java Beans component. Okay. So what are the different modeling elements? Number one is, let's see what are the basics. So class are basic model elements. Class names are shown in boldface type, or abstract classes are shown in italic. Or when we say object, which is a class instance, are shown by the class elements with underlined names. Interfaces are also indicated by logic. So when we say we are creating a component, then a component has interfaces. All the communication to a component, we say, would be basically through those interfaces. So each component, it requires some interfaces which are the inputs to a component, and each component, it provides some interfaces which are the outputs to a component. Now हम देखेंगे कि how we actually represent them. The output interfaces, they are usually represented as lollipops, and the input interfaces, they are usually represented as sockets. We'll see that representation. And then we have some collaborations. Collaborations are indicated by dashed ovals. They realize use cases. Then we have use cases shown by ellipse, and then active classes shown by thick bordered class boxes. A component is a combination of one or more classes that forms a physical software element. Okay. So now we say a component के अंदर क्या होता है? It consists of multiple classes. And a node is a processor or a hardware device. We will get to the node when we discuss the deployment diagrams. And what is composite? A composite model element is a package or a subsystem of base or composite elements. So when we say a package, so a package can consist of multiple classes, first of all, or it can consist of multiple packages again. Okay. So what is a component diagram? Now we have seen कि जी component profile के अंदर क्या क्या चीजें हो सकती हैं, what are the different elements involved in it. Now let's see what is a component diagram. It is a graph of components connected by dependency relationship. Okay, so we tell कि which component is dependent on which other component, and shows the dependencies among software components कि ये जो source code है ये किस linkable library के ऊपर dependent है, ये किस executable को चलाएगा. You know, so we show these kind of dependencies, and dependencies are shown, always shown as dashed arrows. अगर आपको class diagram याद हो तो एक तरह की association थी जिसे हमने कहा था dependency, and even in the class diagram when we showed dependency, so it was shown as a dashed arrow from the client component to the supplier component. The kinds of dependencies are implementation language specific. Okay जी. So once again, and moreover, a component diagram, it is used to model the top level view of the system design in terms of the components and dependencies among the components. Or again, we have said that components can be source code, they can be libraries, and you know, things like that. And the dependencies or edges in the graph are shown as dashed lines with arrows from the client component to the supplier component. The lines are often also called connectors. The type of dependencies are implementation language specific. So you know, these dependencies, they also have types, but they depend कि किस language के अंदर आपने अपना implementation किया. So this component diagram, it is also known as software wiring diagram. Why we say that? क्योंकि हम कहते हैं कि पूरा software किस तरह से चलेगा. When the whole software will be implemented, then how different source code files or how different classes will be linked to each other. So this is that is what a component diagram actually tells. And we said that a component diagram, it can be used to represent the static structure of the system. First of all, we know that it provides high-level interaction and dependencies among software components. It captures the physical structure of implementation कि physically आपका source code ये है, आपकी executable ये है, ये शायद linkable libraries हैं, ये DLL हैं, ये components हैं. So you say कि जी physically मेरे system के ये elements हैं and these are the dependencies between them. And normally when you are designing the architecture of your product, then you actually try to make this component diagram. And what are the different purposes of creating these component diagrams? It organizes the source code, construct an executable release, and specify a physical database. And the main concepts are component, interfaces, dependencies, and realization. And who are the people who actually develop these component diagrams? Normally the architects, the software architects who are part of your design team, and programmers, they are responsible for creating these component diagrams. Why these two people are involved? Because it gives an implementation view, so the developers, they need to be there, and we are at the we do it when we are making the architecture specification. So the architects, they need to be part of it, because they are the ones who will say, okay, that this component, it should be here, or this class, they should be part of this component, and things like that. Okay, ji. So this is an example of a component diagram. Now if you look at this component diagram, then this actually tells KG how a specific implementation specific view of the product. So it says KG, this is your main or the home page, which says that this is the index.html page, and this has a dependency, or this has a link with find.html page, and then it is basically connected to an executable, which is anything that when somebody goes to that find.html page, then a certain component is called, which is basically an executable. Okay, and then this is connected to two further libraries, which are DB, ACS, DLL, and Nightingale. So this is implementation specific. Okay, so we are providing the details that how the different elements, okay, how the source code will be basically connected to the executable, and how the executable will access the DLL. So we are providing that view. Okay, and this is the static structure of our product. And the physical structure, more importantly, of implementation of our system, because here we are not telling the details about that how or what are the things involved in index.html, or what are the things involved in find. Find.executable, we are not talking about the design of that. We are just saying, okay, somebody who will be using the system, or when people will implement it, then the index page will be implemented, then there will be an hyperlink which will take us to the find.html page, and when you try to find something, then something called find.executable will be run, and then find.executable will be using following two DLLs. Okay, and this is again, it represents the components and different interactions. For example, you have this different database management. So you have a medication DBMS, and you have a patient record DBMS, and you have receivables DBMS, and you have these components. We are checking the conflict checker, and your receivables writer, and you have this GUI, and this is how they are basically getting data from these different components. So these are the outputs, and then these. So basically, for these components, these are the outputs, these are the inputs, and these are the outputs from these components. Okay. And how I told you that every communication to a component is always through an interface, and usually a component, it provides two kinds of interfaces. We call the output interfaces, we call them that these are the interfaces that a component provides. Normally in software engineering, a component is also referred to as a service provider. We say that this particular component provides this service. जिस तरह अगर आपको पीछे याद हो जब हमने find out executable देखी थी, तो we can call it a service. Okay, whatever you tell this component or this service provider to find, it finds it for you. So it provides the service to you. And in order to provide that service, maybe it needs an input, which can be that what are you looking for, and the output or जो provide service देता है वो आपको वो चीज़ ढूंढ के दे देता है. Okay. Normally, जो आपकी output interface होता है, or the provide interface, that is represented as a lollipop, whereas for the required interface or for the input, that is actually shown as a socket. Okay, so modeling a component's interface. So for example, you have in this case we have this example कि you have this order component, और ये जो अंदर एक छोटा सा symbol है, ये component का symbol actually tells कि this is a component, and these are the inputs. Okay, in case of this order component, there is a person who would actually order something, and the outputs are कि आपके order की entry होगी और आपके account payable को भी पता लगेगा कि this order is being created. And in terms of, if you're trying to connect these components together, so you have this order system, और order system के अंदर क्या करता है, a customer, he can look up, और उसके लिए आपको, there is a link with the customer repository, and similarly you say कि आपके order system के अंदर you need to check कि what are the different products that are being ordered, and in that case you maybe need to go to the inventory system. Okay, so let's say so in this second approach, the interface symbols with a complete circle at their end represent an interface that component provides. ये जैसे हमने पहले डिस्कस किया था कि ये वाले कौन से इंटरफेसेस हैं, ये आपके हैं, these are the provide interfaces and these are the require interfaces. See, so whenever a system is, जो system का ordering system है, whenever that component is used, तो it needs these two interfaces. ठीक है, it needs कि किस कस्टमर ने वो ऑर्डर किया, and it also needs कि what are the product that are being ordered. इसी तरह जो आपका इन्वेंट्री सिस्टम है, it provides the output is कि कौन सी product, whether the product exists in the inventory or it's not there, and you also trying to look up the customer. तो जो आपका जो customer repository का component, it gives you that kind of output. Okay जी. And something else that is related to component diagrams, that there will be times when it makes sense to display a component's internal structure. ठीक है, फॉर एग्जाम्पल हम देखना चाहते हैं कि हमारा ये स्टोर जो था, दैट इज, क्योंकि हमने ये पहले डिस्कस किया था कि दैट कंपोनेंट, इट कैन कंसिस्ट ऑफ मल्टीपल कंपोनेंट्स. ठीक है, और इट कंपोनेंट कैन कंसिस्ट ऑफ मल्टीपल एग्जीक्यूटेबल्स एज वेल. सो एट टाइम्स when you make this component diagram, you want to expand on your basic component, and you want to show कि कौन से component इसके अंदर actually, and what will be the internal structure of a particular component. So this is an example. So you have a store component, and what are the different components which are part of this store component? You have an order component, you have a customer component, and you have a product component. So you can do that, and again you see कि ये जो पूरा store का component है, हमने इसका भी बता दिया कि this is the input and this is the output to that store component, and this is the input. So if you are constructing a very complex system, then the component diagram, it can be a hierarchical structure where you have a big component and you can then decompose it and look at what inside, and if it's composed of multiple components, and you can go further on, okay, depending on the complexity of the problem at hand. Okay, before going to the deployment diagrams, let's quickly see what are the characteristics of the component involved in, or let's quickly summarize what are the characteristics of the components which are involved in a component diagram. First of all, the components, they trace to the model elements they implement. Normally they trace back to the use cases, okay, because they implement those use cases. Okay, when you start with the use cases, and then when you go to the implementation specific details, so that is what actually you're implementing. Okay, and the component usually implements several elements. Just हमने देखा था, it consists of basic elements, then it consists of some composite elements, if you remember that we discussed in the earlier slides. And then we have components, they provide the same interface as the model elements they implement, and the compilation dependencies denote which elements required to compile a specific component. Implement component stubs to ease compilation, integration, and testing. Okay, these are a few examples of a component diagram. So we have three different components. We have a scheduler, we have a planner, and we have GUI. So हमने कहा कि जी हमने तीन components के अंदर अपने पूरे system को divide कर दिया, and these are the three components, and these are the interfaces. Okay, we can check the reservations through the scheduler component, and the planner gives us some update which GUI also accesses. So these are the UML components and these are the UML interfaces. Okay, now let's see that what is a deployment diagram. So first of all, when we are creating a deployment diagram, the focus on the placement and configuration of the components at runtime. Okay? Now we are concerned कि we have seen कि हमारी product implementation point of view के से किन components में हमारी implementation divided है, and what are the dependencies between those different components. लेकिन when we say we want to create the deployment diagram, so we want to see कि at which nodes those components would be placed, ठीक है, and how will the software react at runtime. ठीक है, for example, user is actually using the system, then what will happen, ठीक है, and for example हम कहते हैं कि if it's a client server architecture, तो क्लाइंट की मशीन से जब सर्वर पे कम्युनिकेशन होगी तो हाउ वी कैन शो दैट. सो that is why we create these deployment diagrams. So it captures the topology of a system's hardware, it is built as part of architecture specification. So we have seen कि जो component diagram हम बनाते हैं, and then following the deployment diagram, they are also created when we are making the architecture specification. And what are the purposes? Number one, it specifies the distribution of components, at which hardware nodes कौन से components पड़े हैं उसके ऊपर, and it identify the performance bottlenecks. And similarly, what are the main concepts? So we have nodes, which are the hardware nodes essentially, then we have components, and then we have dependencies between those nodes and the location of those nodes. And they are developed by, again, architects, and because it's the runtime behavior, and it also involves networking engineers and system engineers. So these are the three people who actually built those deployment diagrams. So again, it captures the topology of systems hardware, and this is an example of a deployment diagram. So if you look at this deployment diagram, so we actually show, because here we are concerned with the runtime behavior of the system. So we say, you know, जी आपका internet भी user है, which we again take as a node. Then you have this bank, again this is a node here, and these are the connections. These are all nodes. This is again a node, this is a node, this is a node, this is a node. So we basically we have two things. We have connections and we have nodes. ठीक है, nodes बताती हैं कि एक particular चीज के ऊपर आप क्या काम कर रहे हैं, ठीक है, and then we have connections between those nodes. ठीक है, जिस तरह we are saying कि your caching server, it uses internet to actually go to this modern bank, ठीक है, और then you have this local network, ठीक है, और local network के नीचे you have these different servers. You have a primary server, you have this processors, and you have these three servers. So this is how you create a deployment diagram. Okay, so one thing that we said in the first slide, that we now know कि हमारे system के components कौन से हैं, which we have seen in the component diagram. And now at the deployment level, we want to see कि which components would be deployed to which nodes. So for example, हमने कहा कि जी we have this blood analyzer, उसके ऊपर we have this COTS analyzer, और we have a technician PC, ठीक है, उसके ऊपर हमने lab analyzer का component कर दिया, and then we have this hospital server, ठीक है, उसके ऊपर हमने ये पेशेंट रिकॉर्ड DBMS डाल दिया, ठीक है. तो हमें पता लग गया कि हमारे पूरे जो सिस्टम की 3 नोड्स के अंदर है. हमारे सिस्टम के अंदर टेक्नीशियंस हो सकते हैं जिनके अपने PCs हैं, हमारे पूरे हॉस्पिटल का एक सर्वर हो सकता है जिसके ऊपर हमने पूरा पेशेंट्स का DBMS सारा डाटाबेस वहाँ पे डाला हुआ है, ठीक है, और हमारा एक ब्लड एनालाइजर है विच इज़ कनेक्टेड टू दिस, और दिस इज अनदर कंपोनेंट. सो हमने इसमें बता दिया कि ये हमारे कंपोनेंट्स थे और ये किन किन नोड्स के ऊपर पड़े हुए. दिस इज व्हाट इट्स ऑल अबाउट व्हेन वी से दैट वी वांट टू क्रिएट अ डिप्लॉयमेंट डायग्राम. क्यों हमने कंपोनेंट डायग्राम में देख लिया था कि इंप्लीमेंटेशन पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से कौन से कंपोनेंट्स कैसे एक दूसरे के ऊपर डिपेंडेंट है, ठीक है, और अब हम रन टाइम को देखना चाहते हैं, एंड वी वांट टू सी कि जो हमने कंपोनेंट पीछे आइडेंटिफाई किए थे, ठीक है, at which nodes those components are deployed, and that is essentially what we mean by a deployment diagram. So to summarize the deployment diagram, it shows the configuration of runtime processing elements and the software components, processes and objects that live on them. And the software component instances represent runtime manifestation of code units. And the components that do not exist at runtime entities do not appear in deployment diagrams. If you guys remember, when we created the component diagram, तो उसके अंदर हमने we showed those, उसके अंदर source code भी हो सकता था, ठीक है, लेकिन we are saying that when we are creating these deployment diagrams, ठीक है, तो जो component आपके runtime पे exist नहीं करते, ठीक है, we do not show them. They are not part of the deployment diagrams. We do not show those components in a deployment diagram. Let's quickly see the deployment diagram. They are useful for showing a specific design, ठीक है, after the following decisions are made, ठीक है. सबसे पहले तो हमने क्योंकि because they are part of architecture design, remember that जब हम architecture specification बना रहे हैं तब then we create these deployment diagrams. So we create this deployment diagram when we have done the following. We have done the subsystem decomposition. If you guys remember, तो हम पहले क्या करते हैं, अपने subsystem की structuring करते हैं architecture diagram के अंदर. Then we design a control model that how the subsystem will be communicating with each other. Then we do subsystem decomposition, that we try to decompose our subsystem into further modules. And we have defined concurrency, and we also know what is the hardware software mapping, ठीक है जी, कि कौन सी subsystem के लिए हमें क्या hardware चाहिए ना. So and secondly, our deployment diagram is a graph of nodes connected by communication associations. And nodes, they are shown as 3D boxes. This is specific to UML, and nodes may contain component interfaces as well, ठीक है, which actually represent कि एक node दूसरी node से कैसे बातचीत करेगी. And the components may contain objects indicating that the object is part of that particular component. Okay जी. So this is again kind of emphasizing on the same points that we have discussed, that our deployment diagram is graph of nodes connected by communication associations, and the components may contain objects, indicates object is part of that particular component, and the components, they are connected by to other components by dashed arrows which show their dependencies, which we have already discussed when we discussed the component diagrams. So there are four things in a component diagram. We have these nodes which are processors, we have some software components which are actually deployed on these nodes, and then we have these processes, and then we have objects. Objects basically are part of these components, and then we have these processors. So these are the different elements that are involved in a deployment diagram. Now let's quickly see a few examples of deployment diagrams, and which will give us an indication that if you're making a certain product, then how do you actually make a deployment diagram for that. So let's say you have a very simple website which has a front end, which customer actually uses, and then you have a web server where you actually have hosted that particular website, and then you have a database at the back end. So how do you create a deployment diagram for that? So for example, हमने कहा जी हमारे इस केस के अंदर 3 nodes हैं. We have a customer computer where basically somebody accesses our web page, and then we have a web server. This page is connected to this web server through this HTTP, ठीक है, क्योंकि जो भी customer इसको request करेगा, it will be a HTTP request, and then the connection between the web server and the database is through JDBC, and this is something that is implementation specific again. So what does this diagram is capturing? It captures the distinct number of the computers involved, ठीक है, जिससे हमें पता लग गया कि maybe we have 3 computers. We have a customer computer, then we have a web server, which essentially is a more powerful machine, which is a server, and then you have a database. ठीक है, it shows the communication modes employed कि आपके customer computer के दरमियान और web server के दरमियान communication कैसे हो रही है? It's through HTTP. And then what is how the web server is communicating with the database? It's through JDBC. And then the component diagrams can be embedded into deployment diagrams effectively. ओके जी, वो कैसे एम्बेड कर सकते हैं कि अभी तो दिस इज वी कैन एक्चुअली एनोटेट दिस डायग्राम, ठीक है. जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल अभी इस लेवल के ऊपर हमने ये नहीं शो किया कि जो कस्टमर का कंप्यूटर है कि व्हाट आर द डिफरेंट कंपोनेंट्स व्हिच आर एक्चुअली यूज्ड हियर, ठीक है, कि कौन से कंपोनेंट ये वाली फंक्शनैलिटी इस कस्टमर कंप्यूटर पे प्रोवाइड कर रहे हैं. देन वी कैन आल्सो शो सम कंपोनेंट्स एट द वेब सर्वर, वी कैन शो सम कंपोनेंट एट द डेटाबेस. सो लेट्स सी हाउ वी एक्चुअली डू दैट. तो हमने कहा कि जी जो कस्टमर computer है, there are 2 basically components there. There is a web browser there, and then you have a Java applet there, ठीक है. और इसी तरह the customer computer is connected to the web server through TCP IP, और ये जो हमने पिछली डायग्राम के अंदर हमने कहा था कि HTTP के थ्रू उसको कर रहा है, तो that is communication between the web browser and the जो आपका अपाची का सर्वर है, जो कि वेब सर्वर के ऊपर जिस वेब सर्वर के आपने होस्ट किया हुआ है वहाँ पे अपाची चल रहा है, और ये जो आपका ब्राउज़र है ये इसके थ्रू आपके HTTP रिक्वेस्ट के थ्रू इसके साथ कम्युनिकेट कर रहा है, ठीक है. इसी तरह जो आपकी जावा एप्लेट है वो SSL के थ्रू आपके जावा सर्वलेट से बात कर रहा है. सो वी हैव क्रिएटेड ए डिप्लॉयमेंट डायग्राम जो हमने पिछली स्लाइड में बनाई थी, उसके अंदर हमने कंपोनेंट्स शो नहीं किए थे, लेकिन आप we can easily include the components to the deployment diagram. लेकिन एक चीज याद रखिएगा जो हमने पीछे कवर की थी कि the components which are not involved at runtime or which are not used at runtime, they do not become part of the deployment diagrams. Similarly हमने again इनके आपस में सबके दरमियान कनेक्शन तो TCP IP के थ्रू ही है, ओके. लेकिन ये जो लिंक्स है दे एक्चुअली शो कम्युनिकेशन बिटवीन द कंपोनेंट्स, ठीक है. ये चीज याद रखिएगा कि व्हेन यू हैव दीस डैश्ड एरोस तो दे शो कम्युनिकेशन बिटवीन कंपोनेंट्स. सो व्हेन वी शो कंपोनेंट्स इन अ डिप्लॉयमेंट डायग्राम तो ये डैश्ड एरोस इन नोड्स के साथ कनेक्टेड नहीं होंगे, बट दे विल बी डायरेक्टली कनेक्टेड टू डिफरेंट कंपोनेंट्स, ठीक है. तो जैसे हमने कहा कि ये जो जावा सर्वलेट है वो SSL के थ्रू सिक्योर लिंक के थ्रू इट इज कनेक्टेड टू दिस पर्टिकुलर कंपोनेंट और which provides an interface which is JDBC. This through you can actually access data or store data and use this particular database. Okay, so अगर हम इस डायग्राम को देखें we'll see कि UML 1.0 के अंदर कैसे होते थे, and then we'll see example with UML 2.0. So this is for example the host machine, ठीक है, and this is again the example जो हमने पहले डिस्कस की थी scheduler और planner वाली. These are the UML nodes, ठीक है. ये जो पूरा आपका एक क्यूब बना हुआ है, दिस रिप्रेजेंट्स कि ये आपका एक नोड है, एंड देन दिस इज द कंपाइल टाइम डिपेंडेंसी दिस स्केजुलर कंपोनेंट, ठीक है, इट हैज़ अ कंपाइल टाइम डिपेंडेंसी विद दिस स्टीरियोटाइप जो कि हमने क्रिएट किया हुआ, जो कि हमारी डाटाबेस है कि मीटिंग की डाटाबेस को स्केजुलर को चेक करना होता है, ठीक है। एंड देन दिस इज रन टाइम डिपेंडेंसी बिटवीन दोज नोड्स, कि जब आप कोई बंदा प्लानर को चलाता है, ठीक है, तो जब भी होस्ट मशीन कोई स्केजुलिंग कर रही होगी, ठीक है, और उसको प्लानर कंपोनेंट की जरूरत पड़ेगी, ठीक है। सो दिस इज अ रन टाइम डिपेंडेंसी विच बेसिकली is between two components, okay ji, which are hosted on different nodes or which are deployed on different nodes. And similar diagram when we create in UML 2.0, so this looks something like that. This is these are the components, जो आपका एक scheduler का component and then you have this planner component, और ये आपकी दो nodes हैं, एक आपका PC है और एक आपकी host machine, ठीक है जी। and this is, जो आपको याद होगा कि हमने कहा था कि दो कंपोनेंट के दरमियान जो रन टाइम डिपेंडेंसी है वो हमने कैसे शो की है, वो इसमें इस तरह से शो की हुई है, जो हमने कहा था हमारा सिंबल है कि दिस इज़ द सिंबल फॉर आउटपुट इंटरफेस एंड दिस इज़ द सिंबल फॉर इनपुट इंटरफेस। सो इनके थ्रू हमने यहाँ पर शो किया हुआ है, एंड दिस इज़ द कंपाइल टाइम डिपेंडेंसी which we call dependency in a node, ठीक है, और the dependency between the nodes we always show it through those lollipop and socket connections. Okay, this is another example of Arena deployment diagram, and again we have two nodes. We have a user machine जिसके अंदर दो components है, we have an Arena client and we have a match front end peer, and then we have a server machine जिसके अंदर we have these components, and you know these dashed arrows they show the runtime dependencies between different components. और इसी डायग्राम को अगर हम वर्जन 2.0 के अंदर देखें तो अगेन जैसा मैंने कहा था कि इसके अंदर हम वो ये चीज़ डैश्ड एरोस के थ्रू शो नहीं कर रहे, बट वी हैव दीज प्रॉपरली डिफाइंड इंटरफेसेस जो कि हमें बताते हैं कि दिस एरिना सर्वर इट प्रोवाइड्स दिस पर्टिकुलर इंटरफेस विच इज़ बीइंग यूज्ड बाय दिस एरिना क्लाइंट, ठीक है। सो दिस इज हाउ वी शो डिपेंडेंसीज, और जो नोड्स के अंदर हैं वी कॉल देम डिपेंडेंसीज इन ए नोड एंड दीज आर डिपेंडेंसीज बिटवीन दीज टू नोड्स, जो कि एक यूजर मशीन है और दूसरी आपकी कौन सी है, सर्वर की मशीन है। Okay, this is again another deployment diagram example. Let's see what this diagram is actually about. This diagram, it shows that the user, they access the reporting tool by using a browser running over their local machine. So this is the local machine of the user, ठीक है। उसके अंदर हमने कहा the browser जिसको हमने कहा this is a component, ठीक है, और user accesses a reporting tool जो कि which is shown by this dependency, ठीक है, और this reporting tool is again shown as a component. तो ये जो हमारा बेसिकली एप्लीकेशन सर्वर बनाया हुआ है, ठीक है, अब इसको हमने कहा हुआ है कि ये जो पर्टिकुलर एप्लीकेशन सर्वर है इट कंसिस्ट ऑफ अ कंपोनेंट जिसको हमने नाम दिया है वेब सफेयर का, और वेब सफेयर के अंदर अगेन वी हैव टू कंपोनेंट्स इन इट, वन इज द रिपोर्टिंग टूल, ठीक है, एंड द अदर इज JDBC API, ठीक है, और ये जो पर्टिकुलर यूजर है ही एक्सेसेस दिस रिपोर्टिंग टूल, तो हमने ये डिपेंडेंसी डायरेक्टली इस रिपोर्टिंग टूल तक शो की हुई है, ठीक है। This tool physically runs on application server, जिस एप्लीकेशन सर्वर का हमने नाम रखा हुआ है w3reporting.myco.com. The diagram shows the reporting tool component drawn inside of the IBM WebSphere, which in turn is drawn inside of the node w3.reporting.myco.com. The reporting tool connects to its reporting database using the Java language, ठीक है, यहां पे ये इसके साथ एक्सेस कर रहा है, ठीक है, which then communicates to the actual DB2 database running on the server name. तो आपका जो actual database है वो यहाँ पे पड़ा हुआ है इस सर्वर के ऊपर, और ये इस कनेक्शन के थ्रू ये इस पर्टिकुलर कंपोनेंट को एक्सेस कर रहा है, ठीक है जी। And then in addition to talking to the reporting database, the report tool component communicates via SOAP over HTTPS to the Billboard service. So ये जो component है ये Billboard service से भी communicate कर रहा है। So again एक चीज बस ध्यान में रखें कि when you create these deployment diagrams, then you need to show nodes, ठीक है, you need to imagine कि when this product will be deployed, ठीक है, so and somebody is actually using your product, ठीक है, so and if you have end users, so you need to show some nodes which actually represents those end users, ठीक है, and if you have some, और अगर आपके सर्वर पड़े हुए हैं, ठीक है, if you have multiple servers, then you need to represent nodes which will represent those servers, ठीक है, and then you need to show the next thing is कि उन सर्वर और उन क्लाइंट मशीन के दरमियान कम्युनिकेशन क्या हो रही है, then you need to show that कि रन टाइम के ऊपर जब एक क्लाइंट या एंड यूजर कोई रिक्वेस्ट भेजेगा अपनी मशीन से, फिर हमने देखा कि वेब ब्राउजर के केस के अंदर यू हैव अ HTTP रिक्वेस्ट जो कि आपके सर्वर के ऊपर जाती है. सिमिलरली इफ यू हैव क्रिएटेड अ कंपोनेंट इन जावा एंड यू आर ट्राइंग टू एक्सेस द डाटाबेस, तो आपकी योर runtime interconnection that is being made, or runtime dependency between the Java component and its database, is basically through JDBC. Okay. So this is what you have to do when you are creating these deployment diagrams. Again, this is another deployment diagram example. So here we have this web server, और इस web server के अंदर हमारा ये component है, इसको हमने कह दिया student administration, and then this is connected to this अदर नोड जिसको हमने नाम दिया हुआ एप्लीकेशन सर्वर, और ये रिमोट मेथड इन्फॉर्मेशन के थ्रू दिस इज कनेक्टेड टू बेसिकली दीज टू नोड्स. अब अगर इस डायग्राम के अंदर हम देखें तो वी हैव शोन कि हमारी इसके अंदर कितनी नोड्स हैं. वी हैव दिस नोड, देन वी हैव दिस क्रिएटेड दिस स्टीरियोटाइप नोड, उसके अंदर हमने कहा है कि हमारी एक और नोड है, ठीक, एंड देन वी हैव दीज थ्री नोड्स. सो अगेन दीज आर ऑल हायरार्किकल डायग्राम्स. सो यू कैन क्रिएट नोड्स, देन यू कैन क्रिएट नोड्स विद इन नोड्स. Okay, and within nodes you can have components, और उन components के अंदर भी further components होते हैं. So this is another example which actually shows the communication between different nodes and dependencies between different components. So you can also represent a multi-tier architecture, through these deployment diagrams. So for example, इसके अंदर अगर हम देखें तो you have a client and you have two servers. You have a server 1 and you have a server 2. हमने कहा है कि जी अब इसके अंदर हमारी nodes कितनी हैं. We have this one node which is the client node, then we have this server 1 जो कि हमारी node number 2 है, and then we have this server 2 जो कि हमारी number 3 node है, and then you have this internet. These are also your nodes. So we have basically 5 nodes, ठीक है. In this case हमने कहा है कि जी client जो server के साथ communication करता है, it basically does through this particular browser, और browser से वो जाता है internet के ऊपर जहाँ पे HTTP request के through it basically connects to this web server, and then your communication starts. ठीक है, web server से then you have servlet container. तो आपके पास if you have multiple components for multiple servlets, or then you have some Java server pages, then they connect to their business object components, and then you have basically you have other servers, और उन server के साथ your connection is basically over the intranet. So again, you can represent the multi-tier architecture deployment diagrams. You can create those diagrams for multi-tier architecture through UML. Okay, so let's quickly summarize that what we have covered in today's lecture. So our goal was that we wanted to know what is a deployment diagram. And again, this is just a brief introduction of deployment diagram. And before we got to that, we discussed a few things and those were related to UML extension, because we saw first of all, what do we mean by UML extension? That UML already has certain meta models, it has certain elements, but in UML you can create new elements as well. So one of the examples was that you can create new stereotypes, और हम उन stereotypes को कैसे define करते हैं कि if you created a new stereotype, तो in angular brackets के अंदर you write the name of that particular stereotype. For example, आपने एक device की एक नई stereotype बना ली, ठीक है, और you created a new stereotype for button, and then you write the name of that particular button. Okay, so and why we actually discussed that? क्योंकि हमने देखा कि when we created the component diagrams and when we created the deployment diagrams, so there were various instances when we used or when we created different new types which were those basically stereotypes. Then we saw that we can create tagged values in UML. We can also create our own tagged values, we can create new constraints, we can create comments. Okay, and then we move to the UML component diagram. हमने कहा कि जब हम एक प्रोडक्ट का सिस्टम व्यू देखते हैं, ठीक है, तो वी आर ऑल्सो इंटरेस्टेड इन द इम्प्लीमेंटेशन व्यू एंड वी आर ऑल्सो इंटरेस्टेड इन द एनवायरमेंट व्यू. And what is the difference between the implementation view and the environment view? When we are discussing implementation view, so that is a static structure of the system. Static इस sense में कहते हैं कि the implementation view, it basically shows all the different kinds of components that are involved at the implementation stage. ठीक है, for example, it shows all the source code files. It can include the binary files. It can include executable files. It can have DLLs. ठीक है, so it shows the compile time dependencies. Your implementation view. ठीक, and so for example हमने एक वेब पेज बनाया था जिसका जो मेन पेज था that is index.html था. index.html से एक और hypertext जा रहा था which was going to another page जो कि कुछ सर्च करता था, और when you press the search, आप जब सर्च की क्वेरी करते थे तो एक particular exe run होती थी, and then that exe used to go and look for that particular thing in a database. So when we do that, तो हम ये बताते हैं कि हमारी इंडेक्स वाले पेज की डिपेंडेंसी किस फाइंड वाले पेज पे थी, फाइंड वाले की डिपेंडेंसी एक सर्टेन एग्जीक्यूटेबल पे थी, और इस एग्जीक्यूटेबल डिपेंडेंसी फर्दर किसी और डीएलएल्स के ऊपर थी. तो व्हेन वी क्रिएट अ कंपोनेंट डायग्राम, तो एक कंपोनेंट डायग्राम के अंदर we show कि what are the different components, और components क्या क्या हो सकते हैं. Component can be collection of these executables. A component can be represented as a source file. It can be represented as a binary. So that is a component diagram. Okay, and then when we say कि what is a deployment diagram, so पहली बात तो ये है कि हम इसको कहते हैं environment view, ठीक है, और it actually shows कि कौन से component. अब component तो हमने identify कर लिया. Now which of these components would be deployed on which nodes, ठीक है. So हम अपने जब deployment view की बात करते हैं तो हम identify करते हैं, we actually try to realize कि when this solution will be used by the customer, ठीक है, तो कितनी physically कितने कंप्यूटरों पे ये प्रोडक्ट चलेगी, ठीक है. तो फॉर एग्जाम्पल यू हैव अ होस्ट मशीन एंड यू हैव अ सर्वर, तो हम कहते हैं जी हमारे दो नोड्स हैं, वी हैव दिस नोड एंड दिस नोड, ठीक है. और बेसिक से डिप्लॉयमेंट डायग्राम क्या होगी, हम कहेंगे जी इधर वेब ब्राउजर है और ये वाला नोड इससे कनेक्टेड है थ्रू HTTP, ठीक है. दैट्स अ परफेक्ट डिफाइंड डिप्लॉयमेंट डायग्राम. लेकिन हमने देखा कि हम डिप्लॉयमेंट डायग्राम को फिर और इसके अंदर इन्फॉर्मेशन दे सकते हैं. फिर हम बता सकते हैं कि यार इसके अंदर कौन से कंपोनेंट है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल हमने कहा जी इसके अंदर एक वेब ब्राउजर है जिसको हमने कह दिया कि दिस इज अ कंपोनेंट, ठीक है. फिर हमने कहा कि जी इस साइड के ऊपर क्या क्या कंपोनेंट्स है, यहाँ पे हमने कहा जी एक वेब सर्वर है, ठीक है. और फिर उस केस के अंदर हम ये डायरेक्टली कनेक्ट करते हैं, ठीक है. वी कनेक्ट दीज टू वेब सर्वर्स, ठीक है. सो व्हेन वी क्रिएट डिप्लॉयमेंट डायग्राम्स, तो वी फिजिकली वांट टू सी कि विच कंपोनेंट्स वुड बी प्लेस्ड एट विच नोड्स, ठीक है. और देन वी सी वी वांट टू नो कि हाउ दीज नोड्स वुड बी कनेक्टेड टू ईच अदर. और नोड्स की कनेक्शन क्या होती हैं, वी शो द रन टाइम डिपेंडेंसीज ऑफ कंपोनेंट्स. क्योंकि हम रन टाइम डिपेंडेंसी शो करते हैं तो डिप्लॉयमेंट के अंदर जो कंपोनेंट्स आते हैं वो वही कंपोनेंट आते हैं विच आर यूज्ड एट रन टाइम, ठीक है. So that is what we have covered in today's lecture. We have seen how we can extend UML to create stereotypes, to create tag values, and then we saw कि component diagrams हम कैसे बना सकते हैं, what is a component, or what can be involved in a component diagram, and then we finally saw कि when we actually place those components on physical nodes, so we create deployment diagrams, ठीक है. And when we create deployment diagrams, we are interested in knowing कि physically at runtime how the components will communicate and get the product working for the customer. So that's it for today's lecture, and inshallah the next lecture will be our final lecture of this particular course, and in that lecture we will try to review our whole course, that what we have covered, what are the different topics that we have learned in this course, and it will be a summary of this whole course, CSC 291. So till then, take care and Assalamu Alaikum.